Hello, everyone. My name is Sam Maxim. I'm the Director of Product Management and Operations at Tamer, and I'm serving as track co-producer alongside Prashanth Sukal and Eddie Torino for Virtual Track G, Global Issues in Data, Analytics, and Management. It is my pleasure to introduce the next session, Value Creation in Biopharma R&D with Data-Driven Decision-Making and Knowledge Accumulation Ecosystem. In this session, you'll hear how data-augmented decision-making was able to drive improvements in productivity of R&D and deliver vaccines and medications to patients faster. Before I hand over to our speaker, just a few housekeeping items. This session is being recorded. The presentation will be included in the symposium proceedings, and video recordings will be uploaded to the CDOIQ YouTube channel roughly 3 months after the symposium. There's a Q&A session at the end. Please submit your answers in Whova. They'll be monitored and shared at the end of the session. With that, I'll turn things over to this session's speaker, Tomas Kvedaravicius, Senior Director, R&D Digital Transformation at GSK. Tomas, over to you.
Yeah, thank you. Hello, everyone. Am I sharing the screen already?
Not yet.
Good. Here we go.
There we go.
So, hi, I'm Tomas Kvedaravicius, as Sam has introduced me. I'm working in GSK. The industry I'm working is focusing on improving human health. Our mission to deliver new medicine to patients faster than ever before. While I'll be talking about the biopharma R&D, the same principles are applicable to other industries too. So let's start. First thing is I chose to follow Simon Sinek's principle, golden circle, why, how, and what. And based on that, I'm going to present entire speech. Why I started to work on the product which I'm going to present to you 3 years ago. Deteriorating productivity of R&D is one of the key problems prohibiting us from moving fast. While there are multiple streams in the company, in GSK, which are working on productivity, the solution I'm about to discuss focus on the 3 levers: life cycle innovation, success rates, and cycle time. How are we approaching? In the beginning, I'd like to mention key principles of the approach we took to drive digital transformation. Those are really critical because without that, nothing is really working, nothing matters. There are 4 pillars that are required to enable it. First, good understanding of business needs, pain points, and ultimately, what is the problem we're trying to solve? And what are the root causes of it? None of pillars are easy down here, but this pillar alone defines success or failure at the very start. You need to get really down deep to the business and understand what are we solving. Design thinking is methodology really helpful down here. Second, when we have a good definition of a problem to solve, we go into the next phase, which has 2 ingredients: digital and AI-first business process reengineering, and solution design and creation. They must come together. Otherwise, we'll build solution on top of the old process, which will fail. With those 2 pillars in place, we can expect cultural change and impactful business outcomes. So this phase is heavy on change management, monitoring, measuring, and collecting feedback. But yeah, we should expect that something goes wrong. It's natural, it's iterative process, and it's okay. But what we must have is the mechanism of rapid enhancements and pivoting. Last pillar, but equally important, is application of agile methodology, but not in tech, just in tech, jointly with the business. Business needs to work agile, tech needs to work agile, and we need to bring those teams together under the single agile project management office. This digital approach enabled us to completely reimagine the existing manual processes and begin digital transformation. So now let's get into the problem we choose to solve to improve productivity. Underlying challenge is that to continue discoveries, we must dig much deeper than ever before and tightly cross-connect multiple disciplines. So what is the first problem to solve, to work on? Knowledge problem. We need a new depth and breadth of knowledge that scientists can operate with. And I'm not talking about the general storage of all possible files, presentations, social media posts, and other things. I'm talking about well-organized and structured knowledge that scientists can effectively interact with at the topic level, project level, portfolio level, enrich it and reuse it. In parallel, the same organized knowledge can be used for the AI solutions to generate new valuable knowledge and insights. Second problem to work on, data-driven decision-making. How to create an effective platform that would enable early decision-making at different levels and high quality. The last, the most critical part, how to bring knowledge and decision-making into one seamless ecosystem, where decisions are being made based on knowledge, and knowledge accumulation is directed by a decision. They must come together, otherwise it's going to be waste. All right, let's look now how to apply this concept into the reality. We have started with reverse engineering. First, we have to enable distributed decision-making. Why? It is a bottleneck in the process, and major bottleneck in the process. Many scientific decisions are milestone-based. What does it mean? That at the milestone, which milestones suffer from the massive information overload. It's like the peak, everything goes into the one moment. And with potential subjectivity, gaps in information. We're talking about hundreds of pages of presentations, a lot of technical documents upon which decision has to be made. Think, is it possible to really make a high quality decision based on such amount of the data? However, everything can be broken down into the multiple decisions at a different level, topic, project, portfolio, and spread across the time. It provides multiple benefits, enabling early decision-making, resolving bottleneck of centralized decision-making, resolving information overload, and naturally improving effectiveness and efficiency of the organization. Second, knowledge itself, knowledge body, which has 3 ingredients down here. Knowledge is accumulated in the structured fashion, then reused and constantly enriched. With this, we can create snowball effect. We know that working in the knowledge industry, knowledge is your currency. Treat it right. Second is quantitative and qualitative metrics. Metrics are derived from the knowledge body. It's a mix of the human and machine input. Now, third is knowledge capture. It is captured in distributed and progressive fashion. It comes from humans who directly interface with the platform, and on their own, they have massive amount of knowledge. And various internal and external systems. The beauty is, and the power when you're collecting from both. Now, let's move further. So it's a bit of cliche, but I, like many other people, like space travel topic. It's natural. And recent advancements here have injected a lot of additional interest. So I used a lot of principles from there. We build a platform using similar concepts, similar principles as a space station. It's a modular systems. What are the core principles down there? It has a general blueprint, core modules, and interoperability standards, enabling its life. But then, going forward, each additional module is sufficiently autonomous, with minimal or no dependencies on others. Each module can be attached and detached at any time and can evolve at its own speed. All modules together create a massive symbiosis, increasing the value and benefit compared to the individual ones. As Aristotle said, the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. But what I like most, multiple teams can build and launch their own modules in parallel. It resolves the bottlenecks of one team doing it all. Now let's look what we have launched into the space last year. A cloud-agnostic, microservices architecture-based platform with a component-based structure where every module serves a particular business need and evolves at its own pace. Every new model is integrated, increasing the business value of overall platform. And the best, multiple teams are developing their own components for the platform. That is resolving the dependency on the core team and providing exponential growth capabilities. We already launched more than a dozen business models, falling into the three segments: decision-making, knowledge accumulation, and knowledge discovery. Each one adds a value to overall system and accelerates our digital transformation. Here, I'd like to provide you several screenshots of the solution to give you a bit of feel and look how it looks like. The screenshot on the top left is showing projects portfolio in the list form. It presents calculated summary with insights, as well as calculated metrics using RAG scoring. In addition to it, we have entire portfolio productivity dashboard. It's not there. The screenshot on the right, is a visual overview of the project itself. It is in the form of sunburst. Each ray down there represents individual topic within the project. It allows users quickly to understand the progress, gaps, required focus areas, and enabling quickly to jump into a particular area of the interest. Bottom left presents how knowledge is being accumulated at the topic level. So you can see the representation of the mind map. It's very simple here right now, but it goes really sophisticated, the mind map. And it is being made out of the evidence, interpretations, conclusions. Each of the nodes contains scientific explanations with the text and images. So now you understand how knowledge is organized at the lowest level of the platform and how many possibilities we have to reuse it with humans and machines. The last screenshot is showing a landing view of indication evaluation framework. This is one of the modules down there, which is a really good one. It is digitally enabled workflow, allowing to evaluate multiple indications for the assets. What is great about it? It reduced nearly 75% of the manual effort and increased the quality of the output. Win-win. Let's move further. Next frontier, that is where I'm focusing a lot right now in my new role. The thing is that world has changed a lot in the last half a year. The arrival of generative AI, which began to perform. Generative AI is not new, but a bit more than half a year ago, the revolution happened. It marked a beginning of the new era of AI. I want to point out that GSK R&D is taking generative AI very, seriously and working on multiple use cases. Part of my digital transformation remit is Generative AI Accelerator. I want to cover here a few use cases which team is focusing in the context of this particular presentation. Before that, one important point about application of generative AI. We are focusing not only on co-pilot use cases, but defining novel use cases integrating generative AI into the processes is the next level. So first, decision-making. We're working on the proof of value where generative AI is learning to evaluate projects, considering multiple data points, surfacing risk and opportunities, and then generating various scenarios. We expect that this predictive power will give us foresight and flexibility in project management and decision-making. Another use case we are exploring is where generative AI can aid the consolidation of the project summaries, create insights, and provide recommendations for governance. This will enable to have highly effective preparations for the project and governance-related meetings, understand different aspects of the projects, and get answers to the ad hoc questions. We expect it to significantly reduce information overload and empower data-driven decisions. So another dimension, which is on the bottom, is where teams are working in augmenting scientific search with generative AI abilities. One thing is team is designing use case, capitalizing on generative AI capabilities to create new project knowledge and insights. It will go beyond the discovery of knowledge. It will help to create novel associations between project data points. Another use case is knowledge exploration. We're using generative AI capabilities for internal data. Company's platform team just launched internal GPT-based chatbot, which is already loaded with a lot of internal content. In addition, platform team has provided a new interesting capability, integrated GPT with Sinequa's search engine, so neural search and generative AI. Based on that new capability, team is working on the enabling the search and discovery of internal scientific knowledge body. It will bring completely new level of exploration, will save time, effort, and most importantly, provide ability to see knowledge in a new light. Very important point to mention down here. The integration of generative AI is not about replacing humans. It's about enhancing them. It's about creating symbiosis between humans and machines. You know, I think that future ahead of us is really interesting and truly exciting. I'd like to show one example from the use case we are experimenting right now. It's extract from the early prototype of the project scenario generation use case. Using GPT foundation model, fine-tuning it, adding multi-dimensional project data, and heavily prompting it to focus on particular task and giving examples and explaining how to behave, we can start generating interesting project development scenarios. Those scenarios will be evaluated by humans and iterated further with a machine. So here are few snippets of much longer conversation. Actually, each response is much longer. So it gives you a bit of taste of how project team and machine will interact and what type of the content machine generates. So we're working with the project team and governance team members to further crystallize the use case to get more focus, selecting the right points. But it is clear it will be a game changer. Very important to mention here as well that we are starting in the areas which are feasible and avoiding boiling the ocean. It is iterative and careful approach, but with a strategic thinking of where we want to be. So, results so far. A part of the transparency, efficiencies, reduction of information duplication, business started to acknowledge the following benefits: real-time portfolio reviews and seamless dive into the project level. It was hardly achievable before. Early critical evaluation of project technical strengths, risks, gaps. Governance streamlining and enabling to focus on key points. Easier, more organized identification of assets that could maximize lifecycle innovation. Last but not the least, due to the accessible project content, the team can easily share, learn, reuse knowledge from other projects and reduce duplicate efforts. So, for closing, recap, we have started with a vision of knowledge accumulation and decision-making together. Then created a modular platform using agile approach, working closely with business. We demonstrated the art of possible and enabled business to see first benefits. It proved that we are on the right track. Therefore, business appetite naturally started to grow. Business is embracing and owning the change. And we continue to grow with the new technologies at the higher pace into the new directions. Thank you.
What a fantastic presentation. Just a reminder, if you have any questions, you can post them in the Q&A tab of the Whova chat. But after watching that, I'm curious, what advice would you give if you had to start this all over? What would you do differently?
All right. Obviously, all this process always is painful because you're going into the unexplored areas. But what I would do differently, two things. First, business related. I would be more brave. Challenge business requirements to the much greater extent and earlier in the journey. Really challenge it much harder. Admitting what you are getting that as a truth, it's misleading in many cases. And actually people are really so intelligent providing you requirements, very sensitive requirements, but actually the problem is elsewhere. On the technical level, I would push even harder, maximizing using out-of-box solutions that are offered in the cloud. Yes, we are on the cloud, cloud agnostic, using a lot, but what I capitalize even further than this, it would save tons of time.
That's interesting. And with the value that you're seeing, coming back at the last, I think, slide that you showed it, some of the early value that you're seeing for that, do you think you would have been able to realize some of that much faster if you had kind of done some of that questioning earlier?
Naturally, yes. If you identifying what problem we are solving earlier, obviously you're finding the right solution early in the stage.
And to what extent do you think that kind of doing generative AI would shift the approach that you had here?
So that is a really good question, and that's multi-layered. So one thing what I'd like to say that what we did, it does not mean that it's completely redundant. Generative AI sits on the platforms. It cannot just like come out of nowhere. It needs a lot of well-organized data to understand it. So therefore, whatever we did is just like fantastic foundations for generative AI to thrive. That is one thing. It's not redundant. And I think that many people, some things is going to be obviously redundant, but it's not like completely. Majority stays and actually empowers generative AI, which is really great news. It's just, you need just to think how to reuse it properly. Answering to another part of your question, how is going to shift the approach, is going to be major game changer. Why? Because it will redefine many processes and roles. And actually redefine, not like, okay, people are going to be redundant. No, it's going to be redundant, going to redefine in much better ones and much more exciting ones. So we are only at the beginning. I think that we just now scratching the surface, and what is coming, we still are not capable to comprehend at this moment, but is going to be major shift, without a doubt. Again, it's positive. Finally, we can do most of the work which we love rather than which we hate, because what we're going to hate, generative AI going to do for us eventually, but that is going to be pretty soon.
Not soon enough.
Ah,
So I think one more question that I had, when I was listening to you talk about how you've made this modular platform and other people can start building on top of it, how much of a difficult time did you have convincing others to kind of build their own modules on top of this, or did you find that the results kind of spoke for themselves?
Results and easy access, because people can understand, all right, we see the value, and actually why we need to create the things from the scratch rather than capitalizing on the existing things. So giving you an analogy, why you need to create a completely new cloud if you can work on the existing cloud.
Yeah, that's a good point. And what do you think the biggest challenge that you faced when you were creating and launching the platform was?
Again, two dimensions, always two dimensions: business, technology. First is what is really most difficult, back to the same, understanding problem that we have in hand and what we really need to solve. And that problem should be achievable and helps organization at the same time. From the business, there's another layer: convincing business to start changing the process and the culture. That is tough, but actually you can find the pioneering, can really forward looking people and explain what we can do. And actually there are a lot of those type of the people, but you need to find, approach and explain, right? If we remove part of the process, which is actually redundant if you think about that, and replace with a digital one, you in the future, well, that works. On development, overcoming bottleneck of the development capabilities and moving into parallel mode, that was really difficult, because you're always in bottleneck. You need to think how you can work parallel.
And one last question: where do you think the future is of this, for this solution that you've started building, you know, at GSK, or even things that people could take away to build from this at their companies?
All right, so future, well, it's a growth, and any platform and knowledge platform needs to evolve and change, because the world is changing. It's not static. So therefore, the future is evolution based on where business is going, adding new modules which are more relevant, and removing something which is redundant. So that is how nature works. This is how the platforms needs to work. And this is mini platform for the knowledge decision making needs to operate at the same time. The beauty is that actually, how, as you mentioned, is modular. That means that platform does not become redundant instantly. You just removing the blocks, like cells in the human body. Yeah, you're not killing person and making it new. Cells are rebuilding itself all the time.
It's a great analogy. Well, thank you so much, Tomas. This was a great presentation. For everyone who's attending, there will be about an hour-and-a-half break, and then we'll be back at 4 p.m. for a session about leadership and data governance. Thank you so much.